shark swallow you whole. I value my neck a lot more than $3,000, Chief. Find him for 3, but I'll catch him and kill him for 10. $10,000 for me by myself. For that you get the head, the tail, the whole damn thing.
You yell shark. We've got a panic on our hands on the 4th of July.
Mr. Vaughn, I pulled a tooth the size of a shot glass out of the wrecked hull of the boat out there, and it was the tooth of a great white.
A what?
You're gonna need a bigger boat.
Love to prove that, wouldn't you? Get your name into the National Geographic.
No, I'm not saying that this is not the shark. It probably is, Martin. It probably is. It's a man-eater. It's extremely rare for these waters. But the fact is that the bite radius on this animal is different than the wounds on the victim.
Get out of that boat!
Well, this is not a boat accident. There wasn't any propeller. There wasn't any coral reef. And it wasn't Jack the Ripper.
It was a shark.
I'll never put on that ice jacket again.
And if you're hearing the sound of my voice right now, that means you are in the Jaws obsession, where we are here to share with you, prove to you, convince you, or remind you that Jaws is the greatest movie of all time. And we are less than 15 weeks away now from the big reveal, from the big purpose behind this broadcast that's coming out to you. The excitement builds. I had a really good couple of days. We're going to make this a quick show because we are moving steadily along with the top secret project going on here. What did I log here? I logged 1, 2, 10, 4. I logged 16 hours in the last 2 days, and everything's flowing pretty good. I had a couple of inspirational moments over the last week, and we're moving ahead full speed. So it's very exciting, and I can't wait to reveal and share with you what is going to happen and how we are going to bring everybody. You listening to this are going to be a part of something big here. It's going to be very exciting. So let's get into this. First, I want to welcome Australia and Japan to the two of the countries that came on board the Jaws obsession this last week. What's cool about some of the software that we have here is when we do a broadcast, we can beam it out across the planet from all the various platforms that we're on, whether it's Spotify, YouTube, Audible, Amazon Music. We're waiting on some other ones to get approval. But what is apparent is people are listening, and that's great. So we just had Australia and Japan pop up and added to the list. And so Australia is now number 3 with most listens behind United States and Great Britain, which means Jaws is a worldwide film. Jaws is appreciated across the world, and people like to talk about it. People like to hear about it. And that's why what we are going to be doing on episode 20 is going to be bringing the world together to make something possible, of which we can't really reveal. We don't want to ruin surprises here. So we're going to just keep doing what we're doing. We're going to keep talking about aspects of Jaws until we hit episode 20, and then we might be taking a different tone. So until then, let's get on with the show. Big question: do great whites roar? Do great white sharks roar? Do they make sounds, if any? And what some noises do they make? That's the question we're going to be answering on this episode 6 of the Jaws obsession. But first, before we get into that, I wanted to highlight the artwork that's found on the website and give credit where credit is due. If you've gone to our website at jawsob.com and gone to our various pages, you'd see this wonderful, surreal Jaws art. And that has been on loan to us by an artist named Lee Hartnup, also known as Goatboy. He is a great digital artist, and what he does is these fantastic Jaws renditions, surreal, alternate angles, alternate takes on the Jaws world. So, and if you've been to our website, you've seen the brilliant sunsets with the orca and just some fantastic art. And he's a big inspiration to myself in doing all of this. And we're hoping to continue with him. And I told him, I said, Lee, your stuff is so brilliant. I have to draft you. I have to bring you in on this team that we have building here in order to make this purpose of the Jaws obsession possible. And he's been gracious enough to come on board and let us sift through his collection. So if you want to go see his stuff, you just go to Facebook at Goatboy Jaws, and that will take you to his photos. You can see his portfolio there, and it's just some amazing art there. And it makes you appreciate what kind of talent the Jaws world can produce. That's one of my biggest perks of doing this broadcast, is that we get to dive into not just the world of Jaws, but the fans of Jaws. And the fans of Jaws are a very resourceful and entrepreneurial people. And we have there's just a whole world of knowledge out there, but talent. And it comes out in so many ways. That's what Jaws brings out of people. And it's great. It's great to see. And Lee Hartnup is just one of those people that are in that Jaws world that can inspire you. So go see the sheer amount of work that he puts into his artwork, but also the creativity, how it gets your imagination rolling. That Jaws was just a movie, but there were other things going on out in that world, in that Jaws world that we knew. So this might get your imagination going. So I urge everybody to go over there to Facebook at Goatboy Jaws and check out the photos. So thank you, Lee. And he makes us look good. And we're going to try to continue to do that into the future. So let's get on with this here. Really, really quick. This is going to be a quick episode. Last episode was pretty hefty. We had, that was the John Milius episode, and generated a lot of conversation off that. So we're going to stay light this week. So we got a small topic here, one that I always wanted to get to. This almost piggybacks off of episode 1, where we were talking about the sound comparisons between the original stereo soundtrack off the theatrical release of Jaws, and then when they redid the audio, of which now the Blu-ray version has a 7.1 digital sound, which is where they where they went in and they revamped the sound effects. And everybody has their own opinion. I think they're horrible. So I always try to go to the original. If you listen to episode 1, we kind of dove into that. But this one, we're going to dive into it just a little bit more. Okay, we're going to unpack it a little bit more. Do great whites roar? Do they make noises anyway? If you watch Jaws, there are a couple of scenes where the great white, the shark of Jaws, actually makes a sound as it passes by the camera. There's actually 2 sequences. One where they're running down the shark, and Quint puts a second barrel into the back of the shark, and the shark kind of swings across the camera, and it makes a sound. The next one is when it smashes into the sinking orca, and it has a face-to-face confrontation with Chief Brody, and Brody is bashing it with the scuba tank. There is a sound that comes from the shark then as well. Now, I believe that the original sound design people had it pretty much right. That the great white, actually, there is a sound that comes out of a great white when it is near the surface of the water. And to prove that, we're going to go to, let me get right over here. I have a book here. This was a book that was a gift from my sister, Kalina. It's titled Shark Life, True Stories About Sharks and the Sea. So Peter Benchley put this book out back in, 2005. I believe this was 2005. It's a book aimed more at children, like junior readers, but it's very basic stories of sharks that Peter Benchley experienced along with his family, with his wife and his children. The one I have highlighted here, because when I read the book, page 37. So we're just going to read from here really quick. Page 37, quoting from the book. Just then the shark raised its head and lunged upward, and Wendy found herself nose to nose with, perhaps 24 inches away from, the most notorious, hideous, frightening face in nature. The snout was smeared with red, bits of flesh clung to its jaws, and blood drooled from the sides of its mouth. The upper jaw was down, in bite position, and gnashing as if trying to climb the rope. The eyes, as big as baseballs, were rolled backwards in their sockets. Great whites do not have nictitating membranes. As the great body shook, it forced air through its gill slits, making a noise like a grunting pig. End quote. So there it is, from Peter Benchley himself, from his experience with great white sharks. Quote, as the great body shook, it forced air through its gill slits, making a noise like a grunting pig. That's from Shark Life, True Stories About Sharks in the Sea by Peter Benchley, 2005. So when I read that, I said, well, that makes sense. That's what I always thought. I've never seen a great white in real life. That's on my bucket list. But if you watch the original Jaws, that's kind of makes sense, is that you have this big cavernous body at the surface, and it's going to be taking gulps of air at the same time as it has its mouth open. And as water is rushing in, it's going to have that sound, that hollow sound of air escaping out of a cavern, kind of like the wind, a roaring wind sound out of a cave. And that is exactly what the sounds that they were doing. That's exactly the sound. I guess the feel of the sound design of the original Jaws back in 1975, and I have some of those sound clips queued up here. Let me just go to my sound card here. Okay, so we have some comparisons. Okay, and I'm going to draw some comparisons here. So we're going to actually hear the original sound design for the shark, and then what they did with the 7.1 surround sound. What they did was they kind of beefed up that sound, and if I'm not, and made it unrealistic. It's going to be up to you. I mean, it's everything is to each their own. Everybody has their own perception of what they're hearing. So let's get on with it. Okay, so here's the two different isolated sound segments where you hear the roar. The first scene is when Quint puts the second barrel into the shark from the pulpit of the orca. The great white swings across the camera from right to left, and you hear the sound of the shark. So this is the original sound from 1975 Jaws. There it is. Let's do it again. So if you heard it, it's sort of like this. It really kind of has that faint roaring sound of a wind tunnel, kind of what Peter Benchley was describing. The shark makes a sound like a grunting pig from air being forced through its gill slits as it's on the surface, but biting away. Here is the 7.1 surround sound that they remade here. So they really didn't butcher it that bad. They kind of enhanced the original sound. Let's listen once more. So you hear that as Quint's yelling. You hear the shark as it comes across the camera, with the air escaping and water rushing in. It's going to make that sound. My moment of contention was later on in the movie when Chief Brody is battling the shark, and these are the sounds that come out of that encounter. This is from the original 1975 2-channel stereo sound. That's first one, and then this was the second one. So if you heard that at the beginning, just really quick, listen right at the beginning. Okay, so you see how they had that roaring sound, but it's almost windstorm, a wind tunnel roar, okay, which is kind of right there. I like that. I like that. There is some sort of sound. There would be some sort of sound if some giant 25-foot shark is pretty much coming up out of the surface and air is going in and sloshing around. There would be some sort of sound coming from that. Obviously it's not a vocal sound from vocal cords, but there is some sort of wind sound. Now the problem is when they redid that scene, here's what they did. So it went from this in 1975 to this. Now if you listen to that, that's, what are you doing? You know, I mean, what do I'm hearing a little bit of tiger in there. Maybe a drawn out lion or something like that. But I mean, little subtle, right? 1975. And then they go, hey, let's beef up the sound for all these, for the fans. Let's make this experience crazy. And, but the people were working the sound probably were not the same people that were involved with the original movie. And they just went with, and it's like, come on. All right, come on. It's not, of course a shark's not going to roar. That's not what they're doing. All right. So that just goes to show you how easily Hollywood can get out of hand with Jaws, as we saw in subsequent sequels. How if you don't respect the material and if you don't respect the content and you don't do the proper research, it's going to get out of hand and it's going to become unrealistic and it's going to be laughable. So that's something to keep in mind, that even Hollywood with their millions and millions of dollars of fancy equipment and the best professionals in the world, if you don't care about the subject matter, things will not come out the way they're supposed to come out. That's what I took away from doing the research on this episode. That's pretty much what we're trying to do here at the Jaws Obsession. When we get to episode 20, you're going to, you, yourself, the listener, and the people that we are assembling together, we are going to be able to respect material and hopefully not allow Hollywood to run away with this great movie that we have, which is Jaws. And without giving anything away, we don't want to give anything away here because we have a time schedule here. It's just something to think about. When you have something that's of great, that is very special and is coveted by many people around the world, and we were raised with this movie, we just don't want to see Jaws disrespected. We want to see it treated like the national treasure that it is, right? I mean, that's all.
Show me the way to go home. I'm tired, I want to go to bed. I had a little think about an hour ago, where it's got right to my head. Wherever I may roam, by land or sea.
How can you not want to sing along on this? The movie Jaws is copyrighted property of Universal Studios. Any references and sampling from the movie Jaws in this episode is intended to fall within Section 107 of the Copyright Act. Copyrighted materials are fairly used for the purposes of criticism, comment, reporting, teaching, and research. The materials used here are protected by the fair use guidelines of Section 107 of the Copyright Act. All rights reserved to the copyright owners. And that's it for episode 6. Remember to go to jawsob.com, follow the links there on our contact page to our Telegram and Discord channels. I'm always hovering around there. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, you can always go there, leave a comment. We can start a conversation there. You can find a complete archive of the show notes, links, more for each episode, and do your own deep dive into the world of Jaws. So let's get those questions and ideas, maybe some possible future episodes, into jawsob2025@gmail.com. Thanks for listening. Until next week, farewell and adieu, and by all means, show me the way to go home.
It's out of here good. Show me the way to go home. I'm tired and I want to go to bed. I